Well, hey, welcome back to the workshop. It's another beautiful day, and even though it's a beautiful day, we're stuck inside, and I've got a new project. So let's get into it. For those who aren't really familiar with the term, there are little events that usually pop up in the spring called swap meets or flea markets. They're specifically for unloading or thinning the herd. A lot of people sell their old models and equipment that they have. Some hobby shops get rid of some old supplies. And it's a great way to meet up with friends, to find some new projects, some interesting things, some really beautiful models too. And you know, I went to a swap meet before all of this pandemic thing was going on, and that's where I picked up the GB, and that's where I picked up this. This is a Piper Tripacer, and I was actually on the lookout for a Tripacer because my friend Patrick owns a full-size one. He's a dear friend of mine, and I couldn't find a model that I felt like I would build that really interests me. I don't do too many I haven't ever done any civilian aircraft before, other than air racers, and this was something that I really wanted to do for Patrick. I wanted to try to find something, and this is definitely a diamond in the rough. Now, for those who are curious, I did pick this up at the swap meet for a total sum of $50. $50. It has a roughly 86-inch wingspan. I'm not sure of the weight, but it came with servos, and the servos do work. I did test all of them. The fittings all seem to work. It's just rough. It's rough around the edges. Needs to be recovered. The front nose fixture, I'm not sure if you can see that in frame. This needs to be reinforced or rebuilt, re-epoxied. I think this had a gas engine on it, and there was some sort of fuel leak, and the main structure here is wobbly, and that needs to be redone or rebuilt or whatever. So I need to dig into that. Also on this model is a lot of what I would consider weak points. The hardware that was used is not really what I would consider strong enough or robust enough for a model of this particular size. The servos for the flaps are just very undersized and inadequate in terms of torque for what you would expect for this. Also, the servos were installed in a very funny way that I guess was meant to conceal the control arms and control rods, but it doesn't really work that well. There's also it's a very cavernous cockpit that I feel like I could have fun doing some detailing in, but that'll be at a later time after I've got the model covered and flying and having fun with it. The reason being is this is going to be a pretty good project. I want to state at the onset of this project, I have never had the opportunity to do a restoration like this before. There are a lot of things that go hand in hand with it, and I've watched a lot of people do it. There are some techniques that I'm really excited to try and share with you, my trials, my tribulations that go along with it. So with that said, I'd also like to show you the wing. All right, so this is one wing panel. There are two, and they are symmetrical. But this is one panel, quite sizable. It is straight, so that's a plus. There's no visible damage that I can see on the surface. There may be something lying underneath. From what I can tell, there are cap strips on the rib formers. So that'll be nice, give a nice scale finish. And also there is some pretty rough work on these struts that I think I can smooth out with a Dremel tool or sanding in some shape or form. And here is what I'm talking about. These servo horns and control rods. They're very, very tiny, and I just don't think that it is beefy enough. And on top of that, I think that the covering is just not right. It's traditional film covering, and to give it a better scale look, we can try something that looks a lot nicer. It's going to be a lot more durable and will be much more longer lasting. Lastly, we have the cowl. The cowl, it's missing something. The cowl, clearly the cowl is something that leaves something to be desired. Clearly there's a big cutout for a gas engine to stick out of it, which is fine. It probably worked just fine with the gas engine. It's not a big deal, but I could like create some sort of foam plug and sculpt it, but it wouldn't be perfect, so I got a replacement. So here is the replacement cowl. It is actually much thicker than that cowl. This was purchased, I forget where. I'll leave a link in the description and leave a, I guess, word art right here. Anyway, this was picked up for $45 plus shipping or so. Really nice piece of fiberglass here. It's very robust. I mean, it's not chintzy or flimsy or anything. The only thing that's missing is an oil cooler vent on the front that is going to be pretty easy to establish. There's clearly some molding forms, some like spider webbing on the surface that'll be easily sanded out. It feels like maybe there's still a little bit of release agent or something on it, but again, all surface prep. I'll be able to easily sand it, prep it, paint it, make it look really nice. All right, so with that said, you know, I really do encourage you to go out when you can to meet people. Part of this hobby is not just sitting in a workshop or going to the flying field by yourself. So much of the hobby is sharing stories and making new stories with friends and even family. Patrick is a dear friend of mine that I actually met online first and then met him at an event, and we just hit it off. We have been there for each other through many different events in both of our lives. And this is one way I can say thank you to him by building this model, testing it out, making sure that it's absolutely perfect for him. I will be doing it in the livery of his particular aircraft, which is white and a very pretty blue. And, you know, I'm really excited to do this. And, you know, when you focus on these kinds of relationships in the hobby, that's when other people see value in the model too. It's not just you. Other people can see how much you care about that person, and they want to help and support you as well. And I'm very excited to share with you that I have some really great partners helping out with this build. I have been very fortunate to work with Horizon Hobby in the past, and they have stepped up and been able to supply some Oratex covering. For those who don't know, Oratex covering is much like film iron-on coverings, but it has a fabric material similar to older Solartex, which is no longer available. But Oratex goes on very nicely, gives nice, beautiful seams, shrinks very evenly. It's a little bit heavier, but we kind of want that on this. We want this to be very robust and be long-lasting for years and years to come. Our next partner on this project is Dubro. I have been able to be, again, very fortunate to meet wonderful people that work with Dubro, and they were very, very excited about the project as well. So I have lots of hardware. In fact, all the hardware that I will be replacing, the servo horns, clevises, lots of different things, and I'll be showing each one of those as we go throughout the build. But those are supplied by Dubro. Last but certainly not least, again, very, very fortunate to know people who work with Master Air Screw. Master Air Screw, for those of you who don't know, have been in this hobby for a very long time. They have been supplying propellers for thousands, if not tens of thousands of models. And with Master Air Screw and Dubro both being US-based companies, fully based in the US, I am really excited to have them on board for this project and support it. So we have Master Air Screw Prop and Dubro products and Oratex from Horizon Hobby. And I think it's going to turn out wonderful. This is going to be a beautiful model and certainly beautiful to fly in the air. I also want to say a big thank you to my friend Patrick. He has been a true inspiration to me. He's so resilient and a wonderful person. And I hope you too get to meet him at some point if you haven't already. And I know he's excited for this. I couldn't hold it back from him after I purchased this at the swap meet. So excited to get home and share it with him. So moving on, we're going to transform this diamond in the rough to a flying work of art.